growing up, I was much aware of what was happening in my society. And as a child, I thought that I want to change my society through law. And that's when I found the passion that when I grow up, actually, I want to be an advocate. So it's something that has been in me since childhood. I actually remember when I was applying for university, they have the first option, second option, third option, or they ask you, what do you want to study? And then I'd be like, law. I don't have a second option. I don't have a third option. That's all I put down. So I knew what I wanted, and it was law from that very young age of 6.
We gon' fly, 'cause we be on a top floor. Oh, we feeling so high. Don't be afraid of falling, 'cause we gon' fly, 'cause we be on a top floor.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kensani and I bring you faith, education, wisdom and lifestyle content. Please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. We have a new page focusing on educational content only. It's at RE-ENVISION Wholeness, and we will put the link down below for you guys to follow on Instagram. In today's video, we are going to be talking about mentorship, about clerking at the Constitutional Court, and about advocacy or becoming an advocate in South Africa. To help us with this conversation is Sinako Lindazwe, an advocate of the High Court. Let me just briefly, it's not going to be brief though, let me just give you a brief about Sinako. From what I've seen is that she's very passionate about what she does. She works very hard and she's passionate about people. She holds a LLB degree and LLM degree in constitutional law. She was a law researcher or clerk of the Constitutional Court for Justice Jafta and the Deputy Chief Justice Moseneke.
No, it was actually then Deputy Chief Justice Zondo, who was the newly appointed Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Sinako. And she is now an advocate of the High Court of South Africa, a founder of Sinako We Can, and was voted one of 10 top outstanding persons in 2019. Welcome, Sisi.
Well, thank you so much, Kensani. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's go straight into it.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, where you studied, and how you ended up choosing to study law?
So I come from a small town in the Northern Cape. It's called Colesberg. It's underprivileged. It's actually a town where a lot of people, the odds are stacked against them. I was able to rise. My mother actually made so much sacrifices for me to finish studying, go to university in the first place. And growing up, I was much aware of what was happening in my society. And as a child, I thought that I want to change my society through law. And that's when I found the passion that when I grow up, actually, I want to be an advocate. So it's something that has been in me since childhood. I actually remember when I was applying for university, they have the first option, second option, third option, or they ask you, what do you want to study? And then I'd be like, law. I don't have a second option. I don't have a third option. That's all I put down. So I knew what I wanted, and it was law from that very young age of 6.
So good. I think having looked at what you do, I've actually seen that you have changed just the landscape. You know, you've assisted people also in the matters that you handle, and you've actually given back to the community, to the young ones that want to enter this profession. So we actually see the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And then I think one thing is constitutional court. Having gotten that experience at the age of 23, Sinako, you applied there, you got in, and we want to know, did you know what you were applying for at the time?
Look, actually, I didn't. And that's one of the reasons when I was afforded the opportunity, I thought I want to make those like me who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, especially and particularly Black people, because I was aware that we don't know that there's such a prestigious position available for us, and we actually don't even understand what it means to clerk at the Constitutional Court. So I was doing my master's at the University of Free State at the time, and my friend's sister sent me this vacancy and said, here's a post, it's about clerking at the Constitutional Court. And I was like, what is that? And then I went to the internet, I tried to find what does clerking at the Constitutional Court mean? And I could not find sufficient information. Information that I found was actually clerking at different courts abroad. And a lot of people were talking about their experiences. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a prestigious position, because when someone says clerking, you think of a clerk, right? Admin clerk, taking notes, taking files and things like that. But clerking at the Constitutional Court, from what I found out on the internet, is that the judge's right-hand man. Wow. So you actually assisting directly in outcome of cases. You actually making representations to your judge that could even influence those outcomes. You are assisting in, the finalization, the process that's behind the scenes in how these judgments are finalized. So you're extensively involved in such important work in South Africa. And so when I was clerking and when I got to the Constitutional Court, a lot of people were very happy for me, right? And these were people who knew what this position entailed. But what bothered me the most was that my people, where I come from, were like, okay, the Concord. What is the Concord? In the first place, they're like, what is the Constitutional Court? And it was alarming for me that these structures are built for the people, but the people at the same time are unaware of them. So I took upon myself to just demystify the court to the people, its functions to the people, make it more relatable, and make people understand what it is that we really do through my platforms. So yeah, that's the process.
Sure, so good, Sinako. You've said a lot. And guys, I can tell you the truth. I think I actually started engaging with Constitutional Court vacancies and stuff like that. After seeing your platform, Sinako We Can.
Really? It's amazing.
For real.
Thank you.
Like, honestly, it's only then that we also became exposed to it as university students. Sinako We Can, clerking at the Concord, working directly with judges, like, what? And not just any judges, these are Constitutional Court judges.
I know, right? Even myself, throughout the process, when I was there, I had to pinch myself so many times. Be like, oh my God, I read judgments written by these people. Good. And I'm here with them.
Helping them now.
No, I'm in the process, in the behind the scenes. Like, oh my goodness. It's one of the most amazing experiences of my life, actually. And I'm so glad that I could use my platforms, like you say, to bring it to the people. And you now know about the court. You now aspire to be at the court. You know more about the position itself because of the purpose. I feel like that's my greatest purpose. It's affirming to me, and it's very fulfilling knowing that.
So good, Sinako.
Yeah, thank you.
So now that we've spoken about the fact that you work for the highest judges in the land, I saw one of your IG posts where you speak of them as down to earth and humble, and we always assume that people in certain positions become irreachable and untouchable. And I thought you'd tell, what do you think contributes to them remaining humble and down to earth?
Well, I don't know if I can speak for them
from your observations.
because I've known them as they are as judges, but I think generally as human beings, what makes us who we are is firstly how you brought up. Very important how you bring up your child in the first place. The discipline, what do you say to them? What do you expose to them? And secondly, your circumstances. I understand that these judges come from different backgrounds, and remember, they studied during the apartheid era. There's so much about the fight for justice that they know or have also experienced firsthand. I think that generally as a human being, that would contribute to who you become. Of course, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but observing and from my own experiences as a person, I think that what makes me who I am is my background, my circumstances, how my mother raised me, the values she instilled in me, and my grandmother as well. So I'd assume maybe it's the similar factors that contribute to who they are.
I think that is so good, because then we give a person, we actually see them as people.
Yeah.
And some of them can relate to some of the things we go through.
Yeah.
So I think the fear is, how do I work for somebody like Justice Jafta?
Yeah.
You know, they are there, you know, and you actually realize that there are people, they went through stuff, you know. So I just wanted us to highlight that.
Amazing person, actually. Justice Jafta actually was more than a judge to me, is still my mentor, biggest cheerleader. I think my journey to becoming who I am today is contributed a lot to who he was to me as a mentor. So like you say, I went into that space also having the same thoughts that, oh my goodness, these are people that I've known about since I was studying. I've read their judgments. And of course, they're like amazing human beings. But when you get to that space and you see the demeanor, the kind of person that he is, the compassion, the values, it makes it so easy for you to also want to be like that. So it's just amazing. Amazing.
That's great. That's great, Sinako. I love that. That brings me to the fact that you've gained a wealth of wisdom.
Yeah.
You've gained rewarding relationships.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to know, what else do you think you have sort of attained from your journey at the Constitutional Court? Like intangible stuff. Like what have you learned through your experience?
I think it's sort of maybe obvious from what I've stated about the judges themselves. The first thing that I think it's invaluable to me is knowing who I am and knowing why I'm doing what I'm doing. Being grounded in purpose. That's one of the things that I've seen from the different judges, and particularly from my judge, Judge Jafta. I've seen how he literally never shied away from his duties or how he exercises those duties, because he understood the greater purpose that he's called to be the voice for the people, and he executed that so beautifully. I draw so much inspiration from him, of course, and unbiased, views. And I also have learned actually how to be resilient, how to apply myself as a legal professional, remembering the importance of my work and the impact that it has on people out there. Real life impact. People's livelihoods, people's lives are changed by some of the decisions that you make. For example, if you go to court unprepared, that will have an outcome, direct impact as well on your clients. And so the discipline that I have, I think also is something that I've learned from them. I attribute to them as well. The hard work, paying attention to detail. I'm already OCD, right? But if I make a small mistake in my papers, I'm going to go back and be like, oh my goodness, I should have done this, or how. I should have maybe spent more time on it. But even that is it helped me become analytical, you know, it helped me have so much pride in what I put out. Like all the documents that I write, I would rather spend time making sure it's quality documents than to just do those documents or just produce those documents. I think how I apply myself in my work is something invaluable that I've learned from that experience. Yeah.
So guys, you can see, guys, Sinako is about excellence. Like, I hope you follow her. Like, she's about hard work and excellence.
Definitely.
You see it from her posts. She's working on weekends. It's really amazing. It's
Yeah,
really
you have
amazing.
to. You have to. I think for the longest of time, because like my mentees will tell you this, because of my experience, I really believe in hard work. So I would tell them that if you don't want to put in the work, I'm not for you. I'm not going to be your mentor, because we are going to fight. If you want something, or you aspire for something, if you aspire for excellence, you have to be willing to put in the work. Unfortunately, that's how it works. So some people might say like I'm too hard on them or something, but I feel that it's the only way you can achieve your goals, because if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the outcome.
I definitely
Unfortunately,
agree. There's costs also related to
Exactly.
the work that we do.
Exactly.
Sometimes millions.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of impact, not just financially. You know.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's people's lives.
Yeah.
It's everyday lives actually. So one of the most memorable cases you worked on?
Well, I have a lot. I have a lot, but so the most memorable to me at the moment, when on top of my mind, so when I first started at the Constitutional Court, I had to draft a memorandum for my judge on one of the matters. So some of the duties as a law researcher is that when the matter comes in, you draft a memorandum on the matter, and then your judge will read the record, and then you will brainstorm together about the matter. And that helps you think as a legal and professional. The debate itself is so enriching between you and your judge, because there might be a certain way you look at things and a certain way that he looks at things. And I think that's part of the mentorship process, right? And one of the first memos I've written was on the Levenstein versus Frankel matter. The crux of the matter was about Section 18 of the Criminal Procedure Act then. So the challenge was that the High Court had declared that it was unconstitutional because it limited a victim's right to bring on an application based on sexual assault after the period of 20 years had prescribed. And so the Constitutional Court confirmed that indeed that section was unconstitutional, because the section initially only extended to rape victims and compelled rape victims. So after 20 years had prescribed, rape victims could come and say, this person raped me more than 20 years ago, and this is what I seek, right? The relief that I seek. Yeah. But sexual assault victims couldn't do that previously. And it's so important, because that judgment is so important, because you understand as a human being, first of all, that perhaps there's a person maybe who was violated when they were 5 years old, and then when they're 25 years old, they start to appreciate what happened to them, right? But as the act was then, it was that if you appreciate that 20 years later, you couldn't come and say, this is what happened, and here's what I'm seeking. But now, as it stands, because the court has declared it unconstitutional and had said Parliament should fix that, it means that after 20 years, someone who reconciles and says this happened to me can actually go to court and say, hey,
Amazing.
I'm seeking justice.
Amazing.
After 20 years.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm very proud of that judgment.
Amazing work. I love Concord cases.
Yeah.
They're like my favorite cases, because sometimes it starts very poetic.
Yeah.
It starts with some history. I love the way constitutional court judges put together their thoughts.
Yeah.
And so it's
Don't
always
we
so
all wish we
interesting.
can give them one day, write like them one day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wish that.
Yeah.
Final question. I'm trying to apply to the Concord to be a clerk or a law researcher for one of the judges. What advice would you give me?
So the process advice, or after you get admitted?
The process.
The process, okay. The process in applying at the Constitutional Court, the greatest advice that I'd give is familiarize yourself with the application. Read through the application, because there's a difference. Sometimes people go through it, but you're not actually reading what are the requirements. And if you go and you read with understanding, you would then understand what qualities or skills are necessary for you to occupy the position. That itself will indicate to you how you should structure your CV, how you should structure your motivational letter. And that's so important, because remember, your CV and your motivational letter is how you introduce yourself to the judges, you introduce yourself to the recruitment committee. And those are the very important documents that are required of you from the application itself. And then I'd also advise you to reach out to people who have clerked at the court before. Make use of the invaluable information that they give out. I've seen, I had hosted a session last year with Sinako Weekend, and unfortunately I didn't have time this year, but I was so proud to see that there's other colleagues that are also hosting the seminars and sharing the knowledge with other people out there. Attend those seminars, ask questions, and then after the process, of course, or between the process, remember why you're doing it. Put in the work, put in the hours, commit yourself, and make sure that when you leave something impactful that the judges will also remember you by. Yeah.
So good, guys. This brings us to the end of part 1 with Sinako. She has given us great advice. I am actually just stunned, from excellence to what you've learned, the invaluable lessons you've learned from your experience at the Concord, and then advice on the process of how, if we'd like to get in there, we should go about it. This was a wonderful conversation, Sinako. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
I cannot wait for part 2, and we'll be talking about mentorship as well as pupillage, or becoming an advocate in South Africa. Thank you and goodbye.